Hello and welcome to Across the Park podcast on location in the south of Liverpool. Judgy, don't ask us why, we're North End boys. We've ended down here in Bavette Steakhouse, very kindly allowing us to record what we hope to be, Judgy, first of many face-to-face podcast over the beer. It's what we always intended, isn't it? And let's see if it works.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, it's not what we quite expected. We were open to record in the pub, but the acoustics were not quite right worthy.
No,
we've ended up in quite a bit of an awkward corner here, so you've probably got quite a close-up view of us. But anyway, as I say, it's all about trying to get face-to-face again, isn't it? And have more of a real conversation. So we're looking to secure a more permanent location. Any suggestions from listeners and followers, please let us know.
Coyotes.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a bad shout. But no, we'll get straight into it. First of all, thank you as always to our sponsors over at Globe Gas. How many pronouns have we had? Globe Gas and Plumbing. One of our good mates is the owner of that business, and he's fantastic. Judgy, you were saying you didn't go anywhere else when it's time to get your place done?
No, I didn't. No, he sorted me out well. He's done most of my house, to be fair. We've got underfloor heating in the kitchen, which, to be fair, has been a massive godsend when it's come to this energy crisis. So he sorts us out with the underfloor heating, which is brilliant. He's done our bathrooms. Yeah, Globe, brilliant company, family run business. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll see the little ads at the start. Catch them on Instagram. If you look at their Instagram page, you'll see all the work they do. As I say, I swear by them. And thanks to Ver as well, who've kitted me out tonight. Millsy's got his gear in the car.
Yeah.
Didn't quite go for you tonight, but yeah,
it takes me more effort. That's what it is. It takes you less.
But anyway, listen, we're here to talk Blues. I mean, we start, obviously, we covered myself, Kevin, and one of the lads from the park end. We covered in the instant match. It was a massive victory for us, wasn't it, the weekend?
It felt huge. And I know I said that to you about the Southampton game. The Southampton win felt huge because it was back-to-back. And I feel like there's, probably for the first time in a long time, there's not so much the fans are waiting for it to go wrong. I think a lot of external people, a lot of rival fans, a lot of the media are waiting for it to sort of go wrong. And I feel like Evertonians, or the majority of Evertonians, are pushing against this, and they really are willing Frank Lampard to do well. There's been lots of positives that I've seen. Yes, he's a young coach, and yes, there's been times where substitutions have maybe been at the wrong time or the wrong personnel. But for the first time in a long time, I feel like the fans are willing this current Everton setup to do well. Like, so there's been times where expectancies after spending large sums have been there. Maybe me and you've been guilty of expecting a bit too much. When that happens, it goes sour quite quickly, and you get angry and you fall out of love, if you will. This, for me, Judgy, feels like the fans are really, really behind what we're trying to do, and that's why the win felt massive for me.
Yeah, I think, let's be honest, look, the Reds are mocking us, aren't they, about the whole thing of the fact that we keep repeating he gets us, or that's been like the mantra, hasn't it, of, Lampard gets us. But the significance of that is, it's not just him as a person, as you just alluded to then, it's the squad of players he's brought together. They are, and I've said it numerous times, and I continue to say it to people in the match, and say it on most instant match reactions, I like this group of players, I genuinely do. I want to get behind them. They've got, I listened, if anyone caught Conor Cody's interview on TalkSport, I think it was Monday or Tuesday this week, again, you get on, you could listen to him all day.
Yeah.
Like, he's just such a likeable guy. And you get that feeling that the players are enjoying being there. You mentioned numerous times about the manager, about how great it is being out on the pitch, and how every day they're improving and enjoying working with each other, and there's a good camaraderie. And you can feel that, even in defeat, you can see that the players are hurting when we get beat. You can see it in the reaction, in the games after. But regardless of all that, and I think I definitely expressed this in the instant match reaction, the points are important. You quickly you can lose sight of all that positivity, can't you, if you're not picking up points. And he recognises that he's been in the game long enough as a player, and now in short enough time as a manager, he knows that how quickly he lost his job at Chelsea, gone from a hero to losing his job overnight. He knows that results are important, and all the good work you do on the training ground can quickly come undone if the players lose belief in what's going on, and results like that help. What was key for me, and a lot was made of this as well. No changes. So he's clearly he's believing in what they're doing. And it would have been easy, and I think a lot of fans were looking for changes the weekend, but he didn't. He stuck by that 11 again. and he clearly believes in what they're capable of producing, and they repaid him.
Yeah, and look, to stick with the theme of the players, I think, again, looking historically, I think we've been unfortunate to have players who are not big characters who go missing at performances. If you look back to I don't really want to name and shame the current squad, but a good example is Michael Keane. If Michael Keane ever had a bad game, you'd lose him for 2 or 3. It took a long time to recover. Andre Gomez, if he has a bad game, with like Gylfi Sigurdsson, Bernard, even Luca Dean to an extent, if they had bad games, it would be prolonged. He'd have a really, really bad spell. The players I'm talking about here is, I think Idrissa Gana Guy got a little bit of stick. I think Anthony Gordon got a little bit of stick after the Newcastle game. And Mikhalenko probably out of form a little bit. Those three individuals were brilliant on Saturday, and we're praising Lampard, we're praising the coaching staff, we're praising the approach, and rightly so, but I think it's right to say that and you've referred to on different shows, character, not only in the team, but individually now. You look at Onana, I don't think Onana was very, very good against Manchester United. I think we have to afford him that luxury. My God, he turns up a week later, and he's arguably man of the match. So I think for me, a lot of praise goes on individuals as well.
Yeah, they're all contributing. That's the thing, and you touched on Mikhalenko there, and he's one of them players who has come in for a bit of stick. Seamus Coleman likewise, which is horrible, but he's come in for some stick as well. But you look at the things that, again, Mikhalenko does bring to the table. For me, he's the best defensive left back I've ever seen in Everton, and that's high praise. You know what I mean? We have Michael Ball, we've had David Unsworth was a very good defender. Leighton Baines was an excellent defender. Mikhalenko, you look at his profile, where he's played for his country. He's played centre back, he's played left back. He's not come in with the reputation of being an attacking fullback. Yeah. That's his game. That's his craft. His defending, and even in the games he's played poorly, for me he's an outstanding defender, and that's what he brings to this back four. And
he was a big part of the second goal, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. And you look at despite what his limitations are in that sense, he hasn't got the crossing ability of a Luca Dean, he hasn't got the technique of a Luca Dean, but he gets himself in good positions, and he does try and play. He's just got that limitation about him, like Luca Dean had the limitation of not being able to defend well enough and switching off and had that tendency. So
probably why Ruben Vinagre was brought in case it does go a bit too much, where we need something extra.
Yeah, and it's a little bit frustrating, and we touched on it a few weeks ago, and this is not the time for talking about this, but you look at how well Nkunku's doing at Cardiff as an attacking fullback and as a wing back. He would have been the perfect foil, because he's the opposite.
Yeah.
He's the opposite of Mikhalenko, and where we're playing games at home, where we're dominating the ball, and we're not really bothered about what's coming that way. We're just looking for an attack, and he would have been a better foil, I think, and maybe we wouldn't have needed Vinagre, but he was clearly looking for a more balanced replacement, wasn't he, than Nkunku was. But look, just going back to the point you made, I think all of the players are contributing, and Seamus Coleman was brilliant. He was brilliant at the weekend, and I said on the instant match, he got back to what he's good at, and that's being man for man, marking, 1v1 against someone, saying, I'm going to win this battle. He played it, he was 1v1 against the best player in their team by a country distance, Zaha. And, a player who could easily have won the game for them on another day. But he didn't get a kick. And that was, to a large extent due to Coleman's, effort, concentration.
I'm made up for Coleman. I'm like you, massive fan of Seamus Coleman, and it's sort of sad at times to see. I've had a history of holding on to players a little bit too long. I'm thinking like David Weir. I think Leighton Baines is probably the one who got out in time. He retired at 35 and just said, I'm not giving you 2 more years, I'm not going down that way. And it's a tough one, it's a hard one, but I think you're right in saying Seamus Coleman's brilliant. To me, before we do move on from individuals, best I've seen Dominic Calvert-Lewin in over a year. He was back on Saturday.
He was, and you know what? You've got to credit the backroom staff for the work they've done with him in his rehabilitation. The patience they've had with bringing him back gradually, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, and then two back-to-back, pretty much full games. That's tough, considering the injury records he's had. So, credit to the backroom staff, credit to the Frank Lampard's team for getting him to that peak condition, like you say. It's the best I've seen him in a long time, and he was hungry, and it wasn't just the stuff he'd done on the ball, it was off the ball. I said again in the instant match, he was leading the press from the front. He was chasing balls down. He was rattling into people. Exactly, and he wins the ball back for the first goal, as you say. and then he shows that quality and composure. Look, I think he got a little bit lucky. That first touch was just he wasn't trying to meg the defender, but he was positive with his first touch going towards goal, and he's put it across the keeper. I don't think he struck it as well as he'd like to, but you get the basics right as a forward in terms of getting the ball out of your feet and getting it across goal, and you'll score more than you don't. So, no, yeah, buzzing for him, and it's such a big boost to the team.
Absolutely.
And Cody touched on it again in his interview at TalkSport. He said being able to just sometimes clip it up to the big man, and not knowing that you don't have to just hit his feet all the time. It's massive for the defence, because we're maybe not playing into midfield as we were against Villa and giving the ball away and losing it and they score. Playing into midfield against United, giving it away and they score. If you're not sure, you can just clip it beyond the midfield, and that makes a massive difference. It takes a lot of pressure off the likes of Guy and Iwobi in there. And look, Alex Iwobi, it brings us on to him before we do go on. Again, we're running out of
it's like it's not the same player who's been there previously. No. I think there's excuse me, Everton put a tweet out today, like 2 years ago to the day, we beat Fulham. I think Alex Iwobi had a really good game that day, and I think me and you actually talked about on the podcast following that 2 years ago.
Was that the game he was wing back?
Wing back, yeah. And you'd only ever seen these flashes, and the most frustrating thing for Iwobi was you've seen the flashes, and then for a number of games, or even a number of months, you would just see this player who would be safe and not take a chance and not get things going. This player is brave, he's creative, he's everything you want.
What you can now see though as well, and you could see it back then if you were kind of looking for it. He likes to combine with players. He's not a player who's going to go and beat people on his own. He likes to be close to players. He likes to play round corners. He likes to play 1-2s. That's where all the goals have come from. They've not been like 40-yard balls over the top. They're literally cute little clever passes into the right area, into players' feet or just in front of them so they can play first time. He likes to combine with players. He's a clever player, and all of his teammates, whenever he interviews, like who's most skillful, it's Alex Iwobi. I think he sees things that maybe some other players don't do, but he's not, to re-emphasise, you put him out on his own, you isolate him, he's never going to be that player who's going to make something happen on his own. But yeah, I'm grateful that we found that position for him, and he's the first name on the team sheet, no question about it.
Well, with him, before we move away from the games, I know we've done an instant match, but it's just nice to sit there and talk about an Everton victory. I've missed it, especially with the pint and stuff. So, Iwobi, massively involved in the second and the third goal. The second, where it was just a move from the back, where I think Carragher highlights on Monday Night Football. The crowd were a little bit anxious. We don't sort of like that, but it was a brilliant goal. And then the third, you could put that goal silhouettes of a number of teams and not say which team it was, and be mistaken for thinking it was a PSG or a Juventus or a Manchester City.
Even the composer of the finish from Dwight McNeil was like, I mean, I watched dead dramatic this, and I know any Reds who are watching are going to take the piss out of it. Some of the Blues might even take the piss out of me, but the way in which he just stroked it into the goals, I mean, it was like, I watched Messi last night for PSG, and he makes finishes look so easy. But you can tell about that move. It's something that's been repeated on the training ground. There's repetition about it. They could see that pattern. Iwobi knew as soon as McNeil played it to him, he wanted it back. And that's, it's paying dividends, the stuff that
he made the run knowing what Iwobi was capable of doing, yeah.
100%.
I'm on the phone, so don't flip. I'm getting some questions from our social media. We've picked a couple out. Friends of the show, Mel Harvey, she's asked Judgy. It might be a time to step back from uber positivity, which is fair. Are we getting carried away after the weekend, or is there actually a corner turned with that? She said it was a good performance, but they were below par, and it's that type of result that we should be expecting anyway.
Two things there. I completely agree with that in the sense that I don't think we turned a corner. I don't think there was a corner to turn. We got beat by Man United, got beat by Newcastle away. Newcastle are fourth at the moment.
And Tottenham.
Yeah, and Tottenham. Sorry, the teams who've been beat by this season, let's put it into context: Chelsea, Man United, Tottenham, and Newcastle away. So Newcastle away and Tottenham away, Chelsea at home, Man United at home. There's nothing to be ashamed of there. No. Even the top sides, the likes of Liverpool and stuff, they've dropped teams, dropped points this year. Arsenal will drop points to the likes of those teams. There's nothing to be ashamed about by getting beat. We're getting beat by 1 or 2 goals. We only got beat by 2 goals by Tottenham. The rest were a goal, the odd goal.
Without putting words in her mouth, which I don't want to do you think she's maybe referring to the character again, where previous Everton teams have gone on?
Yeah, I think what she's getting at is a lot of people have got really excited about the victory. I genuinely think people are excited because they're happy for the team. It sounds a bit like cheesy and dramatic. I think they're happy, they're relieved. Oh, we got that victory. You know, we've come to the end of it, of what's been a poor run on paper. I wouldn't see it as turning a corner. I would see it as we got back to where we were. And the second point, I forget what the second point she made was.
She said that Palace were below par, and it's a game that we should be expecting to win anyway.
Well, I agree with it in the sense of it's a game we're expected to win, and I agree that they were below par, but I think we made them below par. Yeah. I think we were that aggressive, and that, you know, we pressed them that hard. I think we forced them into a lot of mistakes, and also when they got in good possession, we got into such good positions that they found it difficult to break us down. So, you know, I wouldn't sugarcoat the performance and making it something it isn't, but I also wouldn't downplay it. I just think it was a really solid performance. I agree with Mel. I don't think it's turning a corner. I don't think it's telling us that we're now capable of beating a Tottenham away next week or beating a Newcastle away. I think that's the next step for us. But I think it's reassuring that we shouldn't be in that fight that we were last year, which is, I think, all our supporters were looking for.
Oh, I agree. Couldn't have much more to it. 2 questions from Jay on Twitter. Firstly, speak about Onana. Judgy, you've been impressed? Take away the Palace game, Onana as a whole.
Do you know what? He's a great character, and he brings so many outstanding attributes to this squad. Like, one is personality, like I've just said, his character, his leadership skills. They're outstanding qualities, you know, before you even talk about the technical side of it. He's so good in the air. You expect that from a big man anyway. But his ability to tackle on the recovery, his recovery challenges are absolutely
ridiculous. His legs are massive. He just stands there and tackles someone.
But it's ridiculous how far behind a player he can be and still win the ball. And you know what? I'm surprised at how little he's been pulled up on it, because anyone who tackles from behind in modern day footy, you give it as a foul, but the referees are seeing that he's getting the ball. He's managing to get round the player and hook the ball. And you know, he's not getting.
It's the length again. It's like me when the kids run off with the remote. My arm goes round to a big lanky guy. But
yeah, I'm sure it's not the only time that Onana's praised for his length. But no, listen, I love the guy. I think he's brought so much to this team. You can genuinely see his like. You know, it's quite funny as well. And most Blues would have picked it up when they watched the game at the weekend. The players are starting to get onto him that he's exaggerating a little bit his injuries. So Coleman went over and had a word with him towards the end of the game against Palace. I think it was still 2-0 at the time, and he's basically saying, "We need you on the pitch. Get up, because you're going to get walked off the pitch, and you're not actually helping us. So stop going down." So like whenever he goes down now, it's a bit like Richarlison. None of the players go over to him; they just get on with it. So I'm hoping he learns from that a little bit, because I don't want him getting that reputation that he's just someone who goes down easily. But generally, what was the?
You just said speak about Onana. There's a second question, but before you move off from Onana, I just wanted to add, he seems to have. Now I don't know whether people are having a words with him or it's his natural personality, but he's connected with the fans. He's gone above and beyond. Where remember Tommy Gravison?
I was just going to say he
tried to make that connection.
Took the mantle of Tommy Gravison. The last person that I remember who literally was conscious.
Yeah, throw it and it's like that to the paddock.
But you know what he does as well? He picks up when the crowds have gone a bit flat. We'll win a corner. He'll go, "Come on, we want more from you." So it's like, I listen. He sums up this squad in a way. Do you know what I mean? It's like he's a different type of character to what we've had before.
The second question from Jay was, how important is it for us to finish this first half of the season in the top half of the table with it being so congested already?
I wouldn't necessarily stress the importance of being in the top half of the season, the league. Sorry.
It's 4 more league games, isn't it, and a cup game?
Yeah, look, it'll be nice psychologically to go into the World Cup in that position, because a few people, or again, I couldn't talk sport like they sponsor us here, but I listen to it a lot. I'm in the car a lot with work, and they were talking about how the World Cup break will be a good boost for those teams who are down there, because they get time to work on the game and to kind of reset a little bit. I'm not so sure. I think that break is a long time to dwell on being in a tough position.
Yeah.
So I think it's important that we end, or we go into the World Cup on the back of some positive results. I couldn't care less where we actually are in the league. If we go into the back of go into that World Cup break on the back of some good victories, some good performances, getting players back in form again, that's all I'm looking for. I don't, if we're 11th or we're 10th, it'd be nice. Don't get me wrong, it'd be nice to be in that top 10 or that top 9 or whatever. But I would sooner just go in with some momentum.
Yeah, I think it's a fair point. I think it's probably, for me, to answer the question, it's points on the board. I don't care where that takes us, as long as it's nowhere near where we were last season. If we're 12th and we're 9 points off 18th all day, I'd rather be that than 10th and 5 points off 18th.
That's it. The league's very tight at the moment, and you know, you've seen already. Leicester were written off 3 games ago.
Yeah.
They're now beating teams by 3 and 4 again, and they're climbing out of the relegation zone. You don't want that gap to get too short between 10th and as you say, the bottom 3. I think I agree with you. I'd sooner be in a comfortable position. I think the next step, like just without going over it too much, the next step for this team is to get a decent result against one of the top sides. I mean, we drew at Liverpool, fair enough, but to beat one of those top teams,
beat Arsenal at home or something.
Yeah, I think that's what you want. I know that we might not have that opportunity before the World Cup, but I think that's the next step for this team.
Yeah, last question, I plucked Judgy again from Twitter. Phil Boyd, he said, our away form is never the greatest. Is this the main thing to turn the corner before we start talking about Frank Lampard being a success at Everton?
Spot on. Mel mentioned before about turning the corner or the suggestion that we've turned the corner, and Phil's just nailed it. We haven't actually turned that corner until, 1, we start winning away games more consistently, or 2, like I've just said, we start picking up more points against the better sides. That the teams in the top 5, the top 6, which whether we like it or not, and I don't like it. Newcastle are probably there or thereabouts at the moment. They are. They're beating teams.
I don't like that at all.
No, I don't. They beat Tottenham away though. They beat us, and I think it was a draw was probably the fairer result. However, the fact that we didn't register a shot on target means that you can't argue with getting beat. However, going back to the point of the question, I think winning points away from home and beating one of the top sides is where we need to get to.
Fair enough. Thanks for your questions. We've plucked 4 from social media there. If you do want to ask us some questions or give us a follow, give us a message, we are at Across the Park PC on Instagram and Twitter. Facebook, I think we've still got Facebook, but I don't man it. Last time I looked, it was down as Phil Roberts Across the Park podcast.
We haven't got Facebook anymore.
If you message us on Facebook, it's going to Phil, and you do not want to slide in Phil's DMs. It's probably the worst thread to slide into. And again, the website, we are looking at maybe touching up the website, acrosstheparkpodcast.co.uk for now. Still as it was. Best thing is the archive of all the shows are on there, all the Across the Park extras. And a big thank you to the feedback for the Mark Ward and the Tony Cotty shows. Judgy, we are looking at a 5:30 kickoff on a Saturday night. Feet up, might be a cold beer, might be a bit of food on the go. What can go wrong? Everton.
Yeah, enter Everton.
But I think it's a good time to maybe talk about how, even though it's not a Fulham podcast, how well Marco Silva's doing at Fulham, because he had this at Everton. He had periods where we just looked really good. Now Fulham are having this extended period where they've shot up. They give Liverpool a hell of a game on the first game of the season. They're sitting in the top half of the Premier League season. They battered Aston Villa the other week really convincingly. They're in that really good moment. Now, I know from when Marco Silva had good moments, we were tough to play against. It's going to be one of those games for me. He's doing really well, to be fair, isn't he?
He is, yeah. Long-time listeners or followers of our show will know why I'm smiling. I was a big fan of Marco Silva. I was. I couldn't argue with, the sacking in the end, because it was such a horrible performance at Anfield, and I was there to witness it.
5-2.
But I was consistent in saying that give Marco Silva time. He's a very good coach, and you could see it. And again, every time there was an international break, we'd come back with new ideas. We'd be revitalised, and then when the games come thick and fast, he'd struggle with it. Because let's be honest, we now know, and we've now got the benefit of hindsight, so to speak, that was a horrible squad he was working. It was a terrible squad. Yeah. And he needed time, and he's had that time at Fulham. He's had that investment. He's brought in some very clever signings. He's got the most out of Mitrovic, which some managers have struggled to do. And you know what? I'm made up for him, because he wasn't a Frank Lampard personality who really got the fans. He was a manager who'd come in and he said some things that maybe the fans didn't relate to. He talks tactics all the time, doesn't he? And that's not always what the fans want. They want honesty sometimes, and he's there he's a bit of a Jose Mourinho type character, where he keeps his card close to his chest in terms of his emotions, but he talks about maybe what goes on in the training ground and what we're trying to work on and stuff. And when you've just been beaten, you don't want to hear that. But listen, he's, as Marco Silva would say, he's in a good moment right now. And And listen, I think he's a very good coach. I think in fact, I think he's an outstanding coach. Let's be honest.
But the
We're talking about the
wrong.
Premier League here.
So why is an outstanding coach? I'm not arguing here, by the way. If perceive someone to be an outstanding coach, why is that the wrong fit? Is it character? Does he not connect with the Everton family? Do we want passion?
I said he's not a manager. He's a coach.
Because when he got sacked, we wanted Duncan Ferguson to put Howard Kendall's watch on and do that. We gravitated to it.
Yeah, because that's what we needed at the time. And look, I don't think, and it's the same with Mourinho. When the chips are down, you don't want that type of coach.
Yeah.
You want someone who's going to come out and be passionate and wear their heart on the sleeves and show it on the touchline. You don't want someone who maybe sulks and sits down, and we all remember that image of him walking in the rain off the pitch at Millwall. And that's not what fans look to and what players maybe need. He's clearly not an outstanding manager or a man manager, but he clearly is a very good tactician and a very good coach. And he showed that at Everton at times, and he's shown it now at Fulham. So I think the answer to your question is, he needs time to bring his players in. He didn't get it at Watford because they've always been trigger happy, and he obviously looked to try and get a way out.
Yeah.
He didn't. He didn't get it at Watford for the obvious reasons that we come in. But in the case of Hull, he was obviously there to do a firefighting job. Again,
he did.
He got a reaction out of the players, got some results, but then when the chips were down and there was maybe some players who turned their back on it, he found it difficult to get the best out of them, and he found it difficult to get the best out of some of the characters in our squad. But we now look back on it, and we know he wasn't the only one. He wasn't the only one.
When he got sacked, and again, this is not the Marco Silva supporters club. When he got sacked, don't forget Carlo Ancelotti took Everton's first team champions, got done by kids 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
That showed the characters they were dealing with. The Delphs, the Sigurdssons, the Gabannans, the Moise Keanes, the Theo Walcotts. They were all part of that, and it wasn't a very good squad. But I think it was important to touch upon Marco Silva. And the next question for you, Judgy, is when a team are in such good form, and like I said, we've seen Marco Silva's Everton teams be like that, tough to play against. How do we now go and play against Fulham, who are 5:30 Saturday night? The home fans are going to be bang up for it. They're feeling good, they're looking good. Difficult game for Everton.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and we spoke about the fact that certainly one of our full-backs, but two of them really. I mean, we're not sure if Patson's going to be back. I suspect he won't be.
Lampard said today he's fit, but it depends on the training session tomorrow.
I mean, to be honest, it wouldn't be the worst game for him not to play. Because what the point I was going to make is what you've got to do against Marco Silva's Fulham is cut the supply out to Mitrovic, and that's not just the crosses, it's the balls into his feet, because he is the pivot. Now, I think our two centre-backs will absolutely relish that battle of getting close to Mitrovic and denying him. I think Gana Gay's in his elements in terms of blocking out those lines to Mitrovic. I think that's the key. I'm not saying they're a one-man team, by the way, because they've clearly shown that they've got other players you can get on the score sheet that are a bit more dynamic, but you cut out those 9 goals that he scored and they're probably bottom of the league. So it's no exaggeration to say that they do heavily rely on Mitrovic to get the goals, but also Mitrovic to bring other players into the team. I think we've got to play in the front foot. We can't get too deep against them, because I think if we do, they will be able to hurt us. I think it's a game, really. I think both managers will probably think, you know what, I'm going to have a go here. Marco Silva will be desperate to show that it was the wrong decision from Everton to let him go. 100% he will be. And I think despite what I've just said about him maybe not being the most passionate manager, I think he'd be really passionate in that changing room, because I think when he comes to Everton, he saw it as his big opportunity. I think when he got sacked, he was really resentful about it, that he didn't get the support from the board, he didn't get the striker in he wanted, so on and so forth. So I think he's going to be absolutely, hell-bent on getting results. And I think Lampard's going to look at it and think, you know what, we're better than this team. And if we can get that bit right of cutting the supply out to Mitrovic, I think it's a game that's there to be won. I know we talked a little bit about turning the corner, so to speak. And winning away at Fulham would be a good start to that in terms of getting that away hoodoo off our backs a little bit.
I think the big thing for him, failing in that second season, was losing Gana Guy. He's going to be going for... Isn't he? He's obviously back for Everton. They've only had him in that 19-20 season. Okay, moving on to Everton, approaching the game. How do Everton win this game on Saturday? Do we go for them? Do we sit back and have a defensive shape and play counter-attack? What's the best way for Everton to win this game on Saturday night?
I genuinely think it's to try and outscore them, I do. I don't mean just be reckless about it, because I think playing Mikalenko and Coleman would be the best decision, because it's about preventing those crosses first and foremost when Fulham do get good possession. what I said about the Palace game before is what was really pleasing is once they got the ball and got good possession, we were dead organised and we were difficult to break down. I think we've got to stick with that. I think we've got to, the key battles will be in them wide areas and stopping those quality balls coming into the box. But I think from our point of view, we've got to go there with the attitude of trying to outscore Fulham. I think we can do.
Score 3 again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even necessarily need to score 3. I think we're going to have to at least score 2. I'd be surprised if they didn't score. I mean, I don't know off the top of my head what their stats are at home, but I'm fairly sure that they've scored in every home game at least. And you know, I'd be surprised if we do keep a clean sheet against them. I think what we've got to get out of our heads and looking at the Tottenham game and the Newcastle game is we can't sit back for long periods and wait for them to score. We've got to try and get that first goal and get in front. I think we do against this Fulham team. I'm not sure that they've got that many characters in there. I think they're going to be a team that when they're playing well, they're playing well. But I think when they're behind, I'm not sure. Again, I'll get corrected quickly by listeners here and they'll say that Fulham have come from behind 3 times. I'm fairly certain they haven't come from behind this season to win games. And I look at the players around that team, that squad, and there's not that many leaders in there. You know, you've got the lads from Porto that they brought in who's playing centre mid, Paulinho.
Yeah.
You've got, you know, Harrison Reed in there.
Good player,
you know, good young players, but none of them. You know, there's no real big leaders in there in that team. You know, you've got Willian, and you know, Mitrovic is probably the most experienced player out of all of them, and he's not. So listen, I just think it's going to be about going and outscoring them, and I think we're capable of doing that. I think we can hurt them from set plays. I really do. I think, you know, look at that team now: Tarkowski, Cody, Onana, Calvert-Lewin. That's a really difficult, and that's why I think, you know, we're going to come onto the team in a moment. I think getting Dwight McNeil in there will be a shrewd move just for the set plays more than anything else.
It's Amari Gray.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit tired of Amari Gray now. He's one of them spells where he's not really producing anything. He's getting the ball, he's dribbling, he's running down blind alleys.
He seems to be a threat without being a threat, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
He gets into these positions and he's counter-attacking runs, and then he's not going to do nothing with it.
No, I think the point is he's a threat with no actual execution. It's like someone running around with a knife, but it's actually a butter knife. Do you know what I mean? It's like you look like you're going to do something, but you can't actually penetrate with it, and that's the best way to describe it. He's got all the potential, and he's got all the tools in there, and I think you're starting to see, and not that you're starting to see it, I think a lot of Evertonians have pointed out from day one, he's a bottom half of the Premier League type player, isn't he?
Yeah.
Or if he plays for the top half team, comes off the bench. And that's where really we want to get to, no disrespect to Zamari, is and bringing him off the bench and maybe scoring goals like he did against Arsenal, feeling like he's proven a point. But when he starts games, I think a lot of the time he flatters to deceive. And you know, I'd like to see, and for the reason that he scored against Southampton, then got dropped. He scored against Palace, Dwight McNeil. I'd like to see him retain his place this time.
Fair enough. Is that the only possible change? We've said Patterson. I think for me, Patterson would come back in regardless. I think the amount of miles on Coleman's legs in this 2 or 3 week period has been a lot. I will bring Patterson back in. Not only for that, but I think at this moment in time, this season, Patterson is a better right back. I'd do that, but I'm always asking this question on the podcast. James Garner, is there any way of getting him into this Everton team?
Not for this game. Not for this game. I think he'd come on again. I think it's going to be an approach of just giving him more and more minutes as we go along. I think he played a good part again against Palace. It was a good time for him to come on because we were a couple of goals up. Not for me. It's not the game to start. I mean, I think having that solid base and that 3, I think it's quite settled. I think we can win that midfield battle with those 3. But going back to your point about Patterson, I just really don't want a setback again for him.
Yeah.
And as terrible as it sounds, if Coleman plays 60 minutes and he breaks down, sorry Seamus, that's something I can probably take right now, and you can have a few weeks off, and we bring Patterson in for the last half an hour, but I'd be more concerned about saving him and making sure that we don't have another 4 or 6 week spell without him.
I mean, it's interesting. It's probably the first time in a long time we've ended these podcasts previewing games, not knowing the amount of personality can turn to. When he mentions Abdul Decore there, he's an option of the energy in midfield. You know, mentions Mason Holgate, who started the season really well.
We've got the Carabao Cup coming up in a week or so.
You might
that
see.
Double header against Bournemouth. There's no doubt we'll see the likes of Decore in that. We'll definitely see Garner in that. I'd be saying about it. Morpay will probably come back in. You know,
Vinagre, yeah.
exactly. You know, Michael Keane.
Holgate, yeah.
Look, listen, and that's pretty much the team from last season. And it should still be good enough to be Fulham's Bournemouth's second team, which is probably what we'll see there. So I think there'll be time for them. Look, they'll get the chance, and you know that's his opportunity to prove it then.
We'll be up for the cup in a couple of weeks with an episode, but Fulham away, prediction. If someone give you the free 50 quid bet, what are you spending it on?
I certainly wouldn't put the £50 free bet on Everton to win because that would be horrible. But hypothetically speaking, 2-1 Everton.
Yeah, I was thinking 2-1 myself. I agree with what you were saying before about outscoring them. I said score 3. Don't think necessarily 3. Just to be different to you, I'll go 2-0 Everton. Go 2-0. I think I'm confident with our goalkeeper. I'm confident with our centre halves. I'm confident with our central midfield players. With Dominic Calvert-Lewin back, I think Everton can go and win 2-0.
Fair enough, there you have it. So 2-1, 2-0, that will be a splendid weekend.
Absolutely.
And with that, we
the debut in the Bavette in where I Walton Village. Me and him are North Enders. We don't know where we are. This could be like anywhere.
Sorry to you South Enders, by the way. I was saying to Millsy when I was on my way up here. This is not just, we haven't just drove here to do this, by the way. We've got one of our good mates' weddings tomorrow, and he's having a meal in Walton Village the night before the wedding. So we're getting together with our mates in a minute. So we came down here and took the chance to record. But I was saying on the way down here, it's like going back in time, driving through like
one-way roads,
Gattigan and Bellevale.
I mean, what I would say though is you littered with restaurants.
Oh wow!
You're not a choice,
but no parking spaces.
You can't park anywhere.
Anyway.
But yeah, thanks to the Bavette on Walton Village for hosting myself, Ian Mills and Gary Judge. Enjoy the weekend toffees, up the toffees. We're hoping to be back again next week talking about Judgy and Everton victory. See you then.
Hopefully so, mate. Take it easy.